All right, gonna make a video on a GM corporate 10 bolt. It's actually an 8.5 inch front axle. It's on a K20. It's on my mountain truck. Lots of videos out there showing you how to remove this stuff and take it apart. Had a heck of a time finding a video telling me how to put it back together. Oh, by the way, this is why we're replacing the sill. Ouch. So the old one actually did not have all the pieces that it should have had in there for whatever reason. I don't know. I didn't do it, but not my deal. The new one comes with a spacer, this guy right here, and this seal, as well as this guy, and it is beveled, goes a certain way. We're going to show you that because that was the hard one to find. And this guy here, to show you what this does, this is the inside of my spindle right here. It's all cleaned up, ready to go. The bearings were actually just replaced. I'm going to put a little bit more grease in there, but everything looks great. There was no water, no damage inside of there. This spindle bearing is sitting where it needs to in here. This seal, you look close, it's like a labyrinth seal in that looks like it should have a spring in there. It doesn't. That's just the way that this is designed. This guy actually rides right there. You could actually argue that my spindle could go down a little bit further in there. Yeah, okay. This guy slides on the axle with the bevel facing towards the truck. So it's going to be towards that guy or towards that knuckle there. And it rides just like this here. And then this is actually meant to ride right here. You'll notice that it's a perfect fit right here. And this actually goes over that and seals on that. So I'm going to put all this together and I'll show you step by step as we put this in here. But this wasn't installed correctly and I had a heck of a time finding all the instructions, and there's a bunch of videos out there and they all just skip from this part to showing you that, yep, got it in there. I don't know why, but this was definitely the most complex part of it. So we'll put all these in there. I'm going to start off by grabbing my axle and sliding that in, then throwing some grease in here and putting the pieces together, and I'll show you step by step as we go. Okay, I slid my axle in, nothing more, just slid the axle in. The next thing I'm going to do is grab this Delrin spacer, and it is going to go right like that. All right, then I'm going to get this, and you'll notice there's a flat side and a beveled side. That flat side is going to go over that ring. In fact, I'm going to pull this ring back out, but I don't have to, only have two hands, I don't have a third hand. I'm going to pull it back out and I'm going to put this guy on there just like that. Here's what that looks like on that Delrin spacer. These are super important because this is what keeps all that mud and tree roots and gunk and sand and water and crap from coming inside your spindle and going on the back of it. This helps provide that sealing surface for that. And there's another bushing that goes inside of here and a gasket that goes on top of that that holds all of that together. Next is this bevel. And that bevel is going to go on this axle with the bevel facing the inside of the axle. So I'm going to slide that guy on just like that. And you can see it makes a good tight fit right against that. And then this ring and the channel goes back. Sneak all that right on there. Now I'm going to take a little bit of grease and just touch up my spindle bearing a little bit and place that back on there. All right, after putting those seals on there, and I'll pull it off to show you. There's my seals. Put a little bit of grease in that spindle bearing, and now just slid that spindle over the top of it. Next, I'm going to put my dust ring back on and make sure you get it back to where the caliper position is in the right place on there. It should be that guy right there. And then we'll put those bolts back on, and then I'll show you us setting the actual spindle tension as well, because that's another thing I did not find easily. All right, so we're gonna just pack that bearing full of grease and see if you push it in the back of your hand, it pushes it out through those needle bearings. To do it, you got to get a fair amount in your hand. This one fell out, so it knocked out some of the grease, so I figured I'd clean it up and wipe it down. You see it works it clear. See how it's coming through the front the whole way through, so I pushed new grease all the way through. A little hard to see against those black gloves, but it pushes all that grease up out of those needles. Bearings rather, it's not real needle bearings, but same difference. That's, you're gonna pack it by hand, and you can see all the old grease working its way out. These bearings are only a year old, so I'm not, normally, honestly, I would just replace all this, but we just did, and there was a failure because a C-clip was not installed when it was put back together, I guess. Or at least it wasn't there when I took it apart, so that's why we had a failure, and that was one part that was missing. You can see as you do it, it's just slowly works all that grease through the front. So now, when I started, that was all cleaned off. We'll wipe that excess off, go around the outside, make sure it's all good. But we're happy. Now we can throw that inside of here. Just like that. And now we'll put all, I'm gonna switch gloves. We'll put all of those pieces back in here correctly, and we'll set the tension on those bearings to the right specification. And there actually is a specification for it. Everybody kind of does it this old school way of just guessing by it, but there actually is specifications from Warren. So let me swap these and we'll be right back. All right, so this is the inner ring, and don't make the mistake that a lot of people make. There is a stud on there. You can see it right there. It's got grease in there. That stud has to go out because your next washer goes in on it. So I'm gonna take this stud, put it in there. Get it threaded on there. I'm gonna use my socket to help get it going on there. Okay, now you wanna, as you're tightening it, and I haven't even got it hand tight yet. Gotta get back on it. I tried to wipe off the grease. Okay, as we're getting that in there tight, spin it, tighten it, spin it, tighten it, spin it, tighten it, spin it. You'll notice we're starting to lose that wobble in there as we do it. Okay, now it's hand tight. Okay, Warren states, we got our torque wrench. By the way, do yourself a favor, buy a nice torque wrench. You want to tighten this to 50 foot-pounds. Make sure we got that set right. Okay, let's get it set to our foot-pounds, 50 foot-pounds. Okay, there's 50 foot-pounds. Spin it. I'm gonna do it 50 foot-pounds again. Okay, now you back it off 90 degrees. So now I got my socket on there. Gonna go from 3 o'clock to noon. Okay, spin it. Then we go to 35 foot-pounds. Okay, 35 foot-pounds, and then spin it again. Spins freely, but it is tighter than I would normally run this. And this is the instructions from Warren. Go back, not quite a quarter turn. That's where we run it at. That's setting the correct tension on that bearing, and you can see it's freely spinning. There's no wobble, there's no slop. We've got everything now in the right way. Then we're gonna take our other ring, and there is an index that it rides in. Mine is right there. There is a keyway in there. Get that keyway in there, and you got to move it around a little bit till it finds that bearing pin that was in there. I'm going to pull that out. You guys, a little bit hard to see, but my key position is right there, and that locking pin is right there, and I did have to turn this just a 1/16 of a turn to get it to line up with that pin right there. So it's all installed and happy there now. The next thing I'm going to do is grab the other nut and put that guy in there and just take it up snug with the back of that one. I'm not sure what the specifications were on this, but it's not sitting that spindle pressure like the other one is. So the other one was just snug coming off, and that's what I'm going to take this one to actually. So there's that there, and now we'll put the hub in. All right, so our hub's in. Literally I just slid it in. Don't grease this. Little bit of white lithium grease, little tiny bit of grease you can put on there, that's fine. If you pack this full of grease, that grease will harden, dry, get crusty, and it will not let this engage. And so this is in there, it pushes that ring in, it engages, you can see where it's engaging, and it's good to go. So this C-clip just rides inside of there like such, and I'm going to take my little pick tool and make sure that it's in the whole way around. Actually spin it. Yep, that looks great. Our hub moves good, feels good. There's no slop in it. I don't think it's too tight. You'll want to run these for a little bit and see if this gets hot with normal driving. If it gets hot with normal driving, you have it too tight. But that's why I set it to those specifications. It feels good. There's no slop. I think it's going to be fine, but we will definitely check it. And we don't drive this vehicle high speed either, so I'm not super worried about that. Top speed on this is usually 25 miles an hour, so that's what it gets. That's all in there. The last piece we have to put on is the outer hub assembly. There is a C-clip that's supposed to go in here. It will not fit with this axle. I do not know why, and I'm going to talk to a couple of my four-wheel drive buddies. I have theories and speculations, and I've read some of them, but there is a little C-clamp that's supposed to go inside of here. A lot of guys do not run it because that axle can't slide in or out, but they say that that's what keeps your hub pack assembly in there tight. Wasn't one on here before. We'll run it and see what it does. We'll put the hub on there, and then the brake caliper, spray that with some brake clean. You can tell that this is a mountain truck because the brakes are rusty. So there's that. But that guy there, there's a little O-ring in there. If you haven't seen that, there's an O-ring on the inside of it. That's what actually keeps water and goo out of that as well. A lot of people, myself included, the first time I did this, wanted to fill everything full of grease. I did, and I was replacing the hubs within a year. So, that guy. Don't make the mistake of putting Loctite on these little Allen screws as well. It doesn't need it. Tighten them up, check them, you're good to go. So, all right. That's about it. I'll tighten these all up and we'll go give her a test run, but that's how the seals go back in this hub. Thanks for watching.